Welcome back to the show, everybody. We got a good one for you today. We're going to talk about XRP price unlimited. That's exactly right. I think the XRP price can be thousands of dollars per XRP, and we're going to talk about exactly how that could happen, not just that I think it. So we're also going to look at some news that just came in, breaking news from Coinbase. Hey, let's just go ahead and roll that beautiful intro. Here we go.
This is Digital Perspectives with Brad Kimes. Subscribe for new content notifications. Now, here's Brad Kimes. Come on in.
Welcome back to the show, everybody. You can follow me on Twitter at BackupBradleyAbove at the top of the screen and everything that we're talking about here today. Okay, so first thing we're looking at here is from James Rule XRP. Shout out to you, my friend. He says, don't fall for the scammer payback. Look, be careful out here. Whatever it is, whether it's a PayPal scam or YouTube or email scam or Twitter, listen. Before your feet hit the floor in the morning, somebody's trying to get us. It's just a reality. Be very, very careful. And every good scam comes with a good hustle. And that hustle is to knock you off of your feet just a little bit and make you just a little off kilter. And then you do that one thing that gives them the leverage they need. Just remember, whenever you see something, just slow down and tell yourself the first thing I got to do is verify what this is and where it came from. That's our public service announcement. We got a lot of great stuff. We start with this. Coinbase officially announces bid to become public company via direct listing. Come on in. Yeah, guys, I have told you time and time again, I'm asking you now, go join Link 2. Coinbase had been on there for a long time. And you had the ability, if you were an accredited investor, to get the SPVs to Coinbase. And now Coinbase is moving to become a public company through a direct listing. Remember, they did do a confidential filing some time ago. So shout out to Bank XRP for this one. And that is exciting news because it is not going to be the last. I mean, this is going to kick off a wave of companies. And if you are an accredited investor, you better download that Link 2 app and you better get a part of that community, even if you aren't, because someday you will be. And it is such a great source of information, and they have amazing companies that are in this space. So here we go. Moving forward here, there is a new class action lawsuit over XRP, and it's coming out of Florida. This is Tyler Toomey, who obviously doesn't embarrass very easily, because he is suing over 135 XRP that he bought in November, and apparently it went upside down on him, and he lost 50%. Oh, Tyler, put a piece of gum on it, right? And we'll keep an eye on that, but I'm pretty sure that's going to get consolidated, and then we'll have one judgment, I would imagine, at the outset of all of this. Here is the stuff that's been talked about that I just don't want to put on a thumbnail, but I do want to mention it here, is the GameStop situation that happened. What happened here is hedge funds were shorting GameStop, and a group on social media platform or two collectively worked together and found out that they hedge funds were shorting GameStop, and it was a couple days from that expiring, and they went in and bought it up and pushed the price up, really putting the hedge funds in a tough spot to buy them out in order to not to lose where they were at on their margin and their position on the short. So obviously what we saw here was a backlash towards all of the general public that belonged to the platform that actually worked together to do what the hedge funds have been doing to us forever. Oh, what a tangle web we weave. It'll be interesting to see if any of this amazing tech that we're all invested in actually does get put to work so it can quell some of this business, or at least get us to a place where we can start revealing through the ledger and the private ledgers just what kind of activity is really going on here. And I don't even want to touch it any further than that. But that's where we are on that. And it even had Jerome Powell speaking on it from the Federal Reserve, which was just embarrassing as well. But at any rate, here we are. Flare will be integrating Doge prior to network launch. This will allow Dogecoin to be used on Flare trustlessly with scalable Ethereum virtual machine based smart contracts. And Flare just continues to set up the interoperability from their network to other networks out here. And that to me is hugely promising. I have been very, very bullish on Flare Networks since damn near day one. And I tell you, what I see is the overall picture of a new internet of value of bringing the interoperability of all of these payment networks together by the XRP ledger, the interledger protocol, and Flare networks. And I just think it is where we're going. It is absolutely where we're going. So shout out to Flare for that. JP Morgan steps up pressure on Goldman Sachs with launch of new UK digital bank. You know, this is how it starts. This is how it starts. What we're looking at here is the beginning of something that's going to catch fire, and it's going to just take off. That's really what we're looking at here. You're seeing that pressure now, Goldman Sachs is going to be urged to do it. And then once you get one or two or more doing it in the same area of industry and or corridors of remittances, let's say, as examples, once you have two or more doing these things in the same industry and corridors, forget about it. It is going to be a flywheel perpetual motion that continually kicks up and kicks up and kicks up and continues to ramp up. And that will benefit ultimately anything that's working back end digitally to help settle all of these payments that begin to take place. And I believe XRP will play a huge role in that along that journey. Now, looking at this is the BIS that says ready, steady, go. Oh, I like it. Ready, steady, go. Looking at this, I just wanted to bring this up to you because it says here the latest response showed that as a whole, central banks are progressing from conceptual research to practical experimentation. In addition, the paper highlights that while most have no plans to issue CBDCs in the foreseeable future, listen very carefully, central banks collectively, representing a fifth of the world's population, are likely to launch retail CBDCs in the next 3 years. That tickles me because the next 3 years for me is the foreseeable future. So, oh, they giveth and they taketh. You really got to read into these things and pay very close attention. This is a Ripple, insight or report. Yeah, Ripple insight that came out that really lays out what they're doing and that they are pressing forward. I tell you something. I'm very impressed with no matter how much the SEC has come in and done a lot of damage to the progress of Ripple and their customer base and XRP and all of us investors. And it's all been on the back of the SEC and their dereliction of duty. And that is obvious. 7 years is obvious. So it's not even up for discussion. So the truth is that what I really love is I love that they are not losing the focus of what Ripple needs to achieve as a company and what the ultimate end goal is for XRP and how it can suit the world as well as their customers, right? So right here, I wanted to highlight a comment from Stuart Alderati. He says Ripple's general counsel, Stuart Alderati, predicts that crypto regulation will be a top priority for Biden team that understands its implications for public and private sector innovation. This could lead to a unified framework and a streamlined application process for fintechs seeking crypto licenses. I have to say, I really do believe that if you get Gary Gensler, who's been nominated for the SEC, and Dr. Brummer in the CFTC, well, you could just watch out because I believe you will get a unified framework. And I think that is worth noting right there. Now, coming down to the highlighted section here, it says in the coming year, the focus of CBDCs will broaden from solving domestic solutions to addressing, cross-border interoperability. Like with China, some central banks will focus on retail CBDCs tied to e-commerce platforms, while others will experiment with replacing cash, as in Sweden or the Bahamas. These new projects will require collaboration between central bank networks and private blockchains, and may be able to utilize neutral bridge currencies that can provide liquidity and instant settlement for cross-border payments. They're telling you right to your face, right? We're working with the BIS Innovation Hub, and I haven't said it out loud, but I'm going to say it out loud, and the central banks alike. And you're seeing different applications in different regions where they are testing the CBDCs in a practical application and experiment, right? A pilot, if you will, where they can test in Bahamas as a retail facing product and see how that goes. And in other areas, a more of a wholesale approach. They are doing it. They're doing it. That's what they're telling you right there. They're doing it. And let's keep moving here. This is the U.S. Chamber of Commerce for capital markets. And they say that the report provides a framework for the U.S. to remain an innovative leader in digital assets. I did go through the platform. It is meaningful. It's a nice thought piece, the way they laid it out here. We will see what happens. Obviously, what really matters here, to be truthful, is if we see Gary Gensler come in and what he will do, and what Dr. Brummer, should he be nominated as well, and what he does, and what Janet Yellen and the Department of Justice will do with all of that information. So we will keep you abreast to that as it comes. Now, here's the thing. Because, all right, before all of this, I talked about this yesterday, but I just want to make a note of this today again. More than 110 organizations will participate in the FedNow pilot program. Let me be clear. The FedNow pilot program is a domestic program, at least to start with, which means that broadly they will be settling in U.S. dollars. So broadly, I don't see it as a direct XRP connection, at least in the beginning. And I could be wrong about that. We'll make the video if I am. But what I wanted to point out is this list of participants involves a lot. ACI World is us, right? American Express, right? BNY Mellon, huge us. Citibank, tied in Ripple partner. The list goes on and on, right? Fenestra, right? I mean, we have all of the, I could continue to keep moving through these, but I'm not going to. HSBC, and here are some of those, and I'm just showing that they are partners of Ripple that are participating in the domestic trials, for which we do not see as of yet that they will be using any digital asset to settle unless we hear differently. I would expect it to be a cash-to-cash thing. My point is, by showing this, is that even with the looming SEC case over XRP allegedly being an unregistered security, which could possibly get a security designation, I just wanted to reinforce the fact that none of these institutions are running away from Ripple. None of them. In fact, I just wanted to show as an example, like BNY Mellon, since 2016 and even earlier, I believe, has been working with Ripple very closely. And this is a bank that you're talking about has $41.1 trillion worth of assets under custody and or administration. $2.2 trillion of assets directly under management. And none of them are fleeing Ripple and what is going on right now. And none of them are bothered by any of what has happened. And then you think about the size of these partnerships that I've just talked to you about, and the fact that they're getting ready to participate in a domestic program with FedNow, right? Which to me shows the legitimacy that the government holds them in the light of, and obviously that they're connected with Ripple. You have to ask yourself, and the Ripple insights that we just looked at, that clearly, and Ashish Birla and Brad Garlinghouse have become more and more vocal about telling us directly that they are working with central banks. Listen to this from XR Patience right here. Central banks keep working with Ripple to create CBDCs using XRP Ledger with XRP as the bridge currency. This requires a high-priced XRP to handle the liquidity. Yes. Why would they do this if the SEC, if they thought the SEC would destroy XRP's price indefinitely? Yes, exactly. Because they're not going to. Because they need it more than we want it. Don't believe that. It's still true. Now, I will grant you, it feels like they're moving at a pace it doesn't seem like they need it, but they do. But they also need to get it right. And that's why I did a video yesterday about compliance and about how no one is more compliant than Ripple XRP and Ripple Net. And it absolutely has to have a high price. Look at these entities who are already partnered with them. Finastra, HSBC, ACI, Valente, right? And then we got Citibank, right? We got American Express. I mean, the list goes on and on. BNY Mellon. You know, the list goes on and on. And what it makes me think of, honestly, is it makes me think of collateralizing the ledger. Because just like the question was asked by XR patients, is you have to ask the question, why are the central banks continuing to move forward that we just got heard yesterday from Ashish Birla, that they're continuing to move forward to launch their CBDCs off of the XRP ledger? They're not bothered by any of this with the SEC. And I believe it's because they know they're about to get the clarity that allows them to operate on it. And I believe they understand, just like I believe the SEC clearly understands, because it says in the lawsuit that Ripple achieved success with successful wide adoption with non-cash agreements, which means you pre-allocated companies to working with your asset, whether that be a pre-contractual agreement through an option contract. All of this is what SEC knows exactly what's going on and where the value is intended to come from to drive the value of XRP to a level that can handle all the cross-border payments all through the world. And you would need to collateralize the ledger with these things. Tokenized securities, stocks, bonds, options, all of that tokenized, commodities, gold, oil, fiat reserves, right? Other cryptos. The central banks put up a certain amount of percentages for reserves to float out their central bank CBDCs, which they said they're going to launch off the XRP ledger. This doesn't give it an intrinsic value because it's now supporting the central bank's private payment system here to deliver CBDCs. Of course it does. Well, of course it does, right? So that's just one thing you could look at. And then I look at here and you say to yourself, you could take and look at this diagram that I put up. XRP price unlimited. The central banks could pony up whatever good collateral they needed to provide the floor price to be able to use XRP the asset. And if they were to designate XRP the asset as a security like a bond, which could be used in any jurisdiction of the world and changed over to currency because it does have utility to move around and be exchanged like a stablecoin or convertible virtual currency, right? And you have some new hybrid product that's been created here because that's exactly what we have, right? It is exactly what we have. And if you're going to get the floor value from the central banks putting up good collateral and be like, Brad, what is this good collateral? Where are you coming from with this? Well, it's what they did in 1933 for the Federal Reserve banking system. When there was a bank run, they had to shut down the banks and take a 4-day bank holiday, right? And then when they came back open, they had to make sure they had enough good assets and good collateral with available pricing to be able to meet every demand and call on those notes that came in once they opened again. Now, the idea here is that they would begin doing such a thing with the ledger. And if they all are working right now, as the BIS just told us, that at some point in the foreseeable future, they're saying 3-year window, which to me is the foreseeable future, at some point they're doing this because Ashish Birla and Brad Garlinghouse told us they are. And if they're doing it, then it means they're going to have to put up reserves for their central bank digital currencies. Just that alone is going to drive the value of the ledger through the roof. You're talking about the money from the major central banks of the world digitally running on this ledger, this payment network. You know, I'm reminded of the early diagram we used to see all the time that came originally from Love from Cryptos, where I first saw it. Shout out to those guys over there. I hope they're all doing well. But this came from Everest back in the day, the NTT data company, right? That laid it out. Here you have the ledger in the middle and all the different payment networks and systems working through it through the central banks on the other side. And again, and I've been saying this consistently, and I'm going to say it again to you. You know, I find it awful ironic, or not a coincidence, that we are being sidelined as retail investors, certainly here in the States. And if you're on Coinbase, you're sidelined, period, no matter where you live. And I find it awful interesting that we're being sidelined while they're getting this clarity together. But now we're starting to hear more and more plain, straight ahead verbiage from Ripple and their employees about how there is absolutely a relationship with the central banks and the issuance of CBDCs. It's awful funny that that's happening while you and I are grabbing up pine on the bench. That's going to do it for me. Hit the like and subscribe. Leave a comment below. Make sure you share with somebody you know. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss a thing. And make sure you leave Make sure you check out the description box in the comment section and the description box. There's some really great products and services in there of anything that you may want or need. And I will catch all of you on the next one.